Hello, everyone. We are live yet again. This is going to be one of my authors' chats of the week. And as I give it a moment to let this platform start notifying people that I'm out and about, like I said, this will be one of my authors' chats of the week. And I'll be getting together in just a moment. Let me see if my volume's up. With my co-host for the evening. And we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. Hello.
Hello.
I hear you. I do not see you. There's a way to invert your or turn your camera on, and I think it's something to do with like three little buttons. Someone told me once.
There we go.
Aha!
I found it.
Hi.
Keep hitting buttons until something works. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad we were able to catch up. And again, apologies. I thought I sent the reminder kind of feeler for last week, and I usually do it on the Thursday before. And I was like, man, it's been a very quiet weekend. And I just checked, and I was like, nope, it was still in my inbox, messaging inbox, whatever it is.
Yeah, happens all the time. No worries at all. And I apologize for last time when I don't, you know what? I haven't gotten sick in a long time, which I'm very thankful for. But yeah, the day we were supposed to chat last time, it just hit me. And I was like, I can't talk for an hour. So I had to cancel, but I appreciate you making it work for, to chat
Yeah.
today because yeah, it's been, it's great to see you and, be able to hang out.
Yeah, and again, I understand. Nobody wants to be working when they're sick, and I know when it comes to like hosting these, I do my best, and I'm one of those. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'll suffer through it just because I know everybody's takes so much time and dedication to like arrange our schedules because we all have busy lives. But on the flip side, I would never want someone to like feel like they have to be out here talking, for an hour if you're feeling under the weather. So.
Yeah, I was completely wiped. Otherwise, I'd be the same way. I'd power through it normally, but sometimes your body has other plans and decides you need a break, right? So that was
Absolutely. And yeah, I was gonna say I'm a workaholic, and we may get to that later on. But before we get too carried away, since you're my co-host today, I'll let you introduce yourself and what you write, and we'll go from there.
yeah, you bet. Yeah, so my name is Herman Steuernagel. I have been writing for all my life, but I've been publishing for the last 6 years, which is crazy to say. My first book released December 2020 of all times, and releasing a dystopian book during COVID was not exactly on anybody's plans to. So that book didn't do very well. But since then, I have 13 books out now. My last three
Wow.
have been cozy fantasy, which have people have found a lot more comfort in the the previous years. So yeah, so that is essentially who I am. I have a podcast called the Pine Portal Author Podcast, where I have conversations a lot like this, where I chat with other authors about how they have found publishing success, and that's me. That's who
Well, it
essentially. So
sounds like one, you are a prolific writer because anybody who has 13 books, already written and out there, that's a lot. So do you try to publish multiple books a year, or like what is your ideal publishing schedule?
yeah, I don't know if ideal is a thing anymore. I used to at the beginning it was about three a year, and COVID really helped with that because I had a lot more or a lot less commitments, so I was able to get more out. It's been about one a year the last 3 years due to various life events and that sort of thing. We moved this year. I'm hoping to get us have at least two out this year. Ideally, I am still working full time. Ideally, three a year would kind of be my comfort zone if I didn't have a full time
Yeah,
job as well. But it's been one to three a year. It really just depends on the year and what's been going on and how long I decide to make my book that
that's
year. So
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
My most recent release, I had planned to have it out last fall, but we moved, and it also ended up being double the size that I had planned. So I mean that extended the timeline for publishing it. So I didn't get two out last year. I got the one, but
Hey, I
yeah.
mean,
So
that's one of
that,
those things that when people hear authors and how, and if you're a young writer or they're just a reader and they don't really know, and they hear one author like, I write a book a month, and then another author is like, I write a book every 5 years, and you're like, wait, I don't understand. But there's so many factors behind the scenes that can play into that, and the size of the book matters. Do you have a an alternative job? I hate saying day job and night job because publishing and writing is a job, but it may not be your only
Yeah,
job.
yeah. I like to. I say I have two full-time jobs, right? So like I've got,
Feels like
right. What? I spend easily 40 hours a week on my author business, which is, it is insane. But it doesn't pay me a full-time income yet. So I do have an alternative full-time job. So I am a web designer. I work with a buddy of mine, really. So I've been doing web design for the last 10 years. What year is it? Yeah, a good 12, 11, I think, 11 or 12 years.
nice.
And that's been kind of paying the bills. And up until recently, like paying for my books as well. So it's been nice to have that to fall back on.
Well, let's talk about your books a little bit. Like you have at least a couple works from various, realities of the series, maybe. Which one is your favorite, or which one would you recommend someone to start off with? Because since dystopian and cozy don't usually overlap, I'm sure somewhere they do. But what would you recommend for someone to start out in your worlds?
Yeah, it really depends on the reader and what they're interested in. So, my first series, I would say, it was like I wouldn't start there mainly because I'm actually reworking it. It's going to be kind of more of it's going to be less YA, it's going to be more fantasy and less sci-fi because it's a YA dystopian sci-fi, which doesn't really have a market. But the
Yeah.
story it's really a science fantasy. And the way I had built the magic system in it, even though I didn't call it a magic system, it really fits in with my current multiverse. So it's not going to be cozy, but it's going to be kind of adopted into the multiverse that I built.
Fun.
Um, but so I would say I've got two kind of main starting points right now that I would steer people towards. One is my cozy fantasy series. If someone enjoys fantasy and if they enjoy and or cozy stories, they could easily pick it up. Even if they're not a cozy fantasy fan necessarily, they kind of have an epic feel to them. So I kind of am really a good mix between cozy and epic fantasy, especially my most recent release, which is Flower and Forge. So that series has three books. They're all standalone books. You can pick them up in any order, but they are interrelated. So the first book in that series, the first written book in that series, was The Bartender Between Worlds.
That's such a
Um,
fun title.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, and so that story is really about a witch hunter who discovers that she has magic, and has to run away because she can't um, obviously be a witch hunter anymore. Because, but her magic only affects drinks, and it just so happens that her lifelong dream has been to always be a bartender. But she kind of has to go on this journey to discover who she is and where she belongs. It is a bit of a setup for the next book, but it is a fun story and definitely stands on its own. The second book is The Greatest Pub in the Multiverse. That one has two main characters. We meet Emma again, who was in the first book, but it's a couple years later, and we're basically in a bar in the center of the multiverse. Um,
Yay.
where yeah, so fantasy characters come for drinks and basically for rest from their epic quests.
I love that. And then the latest one you said was Flower and Forge. And how
Yeah,
does
so
that play in? Because it sounds like a bar, pub. Okay, so what's this third part?
Yeah, so Flower and Forge. So I originally intended it to be a kind of a third book that was going to be kind of a bakery, but it didn't turn out that way. So I kind of pulled it out of that series,
Hmm.
and it's still in the same multiverse. But I kind of labeled the series Tales from the Pint and Portal. The Pint and Portal is the pub. This is basically a story from some of those characters in another world. So this story is about basically a baker from a world like ours gets pulled into a portal into a land of dwarves, and he's a baker. That's the flower part.
Hmm.
Basically, he's pulled on a side quest with a group of dwarves to find a witch that potentially has the magic to send him home, and it's all about their journey. It's about found family. It's about,
I
again,
love
finding
it.
where one belongs. And with that one, it really became kind of a blend between epic and cozy fantasy. It's really kind of an epic fantasy with cozy vibes,
I love it.
which I say, if you like epic fantasy, that's a good one to start with because it really got elements of both in it. I call it The Hobbit meets The Wizard of Oz with the
Aw.
side of pastry. So yeah, and it's just a lot of fun.
I love that. I enjoy. I haven't read too many cozies, but of the ones that I've read, I've enjoyed them all. I'm a high fantasy, epic fantasy kind of person, so that always wins me over, anyways. And yeah, so put them together. I'm like, okay, great, because I realize I list to the dark side when I write. And my characters, one of my running jokes is the characters for my books would hate me. I would have to run for my life if they realize what I put them through. On the other hand, when you're a cozy writer, I think your characters would be like, come and join us and hang out in our reality. I'm like, oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah. There's very much that, but you know what? I have, especially the first couple books, I really had to struggle because I had my dystopian books. The
Hmm.
series in between is probably the second starting point. It's a sci-fi series, but again, it's dystopian, a very dystopian future. It's kind of like vibes of Red Rising and The Expanse, but
Ooh.
it's it's high stakes, and so pulling back into trying to get a cozy fantasy was difficult. I didn't set out to write a cozy fantasy necessarily. It just kind of ended up that way because I needed a break from what I was what I was writing. I needed something lighthearted and fun, and so that's really how the Bartender Between Worlds came about.
Oh.
So yeah, they're definitely fun stories that you would want to be a part of their worlds, but yeah, a little bit more difficult to write because we're taught as writers to keep upping the stakes, and I'm sure you find that in your fantasy as well. You're always like expected to ramp up the stakes, right, to keep readers turning the page, and you have to, find a way to keep them turning the page without doing that in a death-defying way.
Yeah, and then there's a term, and I cannot think of it right now, but that whole burnout of when you have almost like these god level powers. If you ramp it up too much, then people are like, well, is it really what can you do then? And so you
Yeah.
always have to kind of find that balance and give them enough. There's a trick to it and everything, but
Mhm.
I have some friends that are cozy writers, and they will argue that you don't only have to stick with low stakes for cozy, but that's the fun thing about cozy. The definition of it is less strict than a lot of other things because it's not necessarily a genre. It's like a description of a subgenre that you can apply to genres. If that right?
Right. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know what I find, especially because it's kind of a fairly new genre in terms of as a concept. There's always been
Mhm.
kind of cozy fantasy out there, but like as a named
Yes.
subgenre, um, and I find that if you go look at the reviews of any cozy fantasy books, you'll get people that are saying this is not cozy enough to be cozy fantasy,
Hmm.
and then you'll get people that say this is way too cozy. I wanted
Hmm.
something to happen, and then you'll find the medium people who are like this was great, um, and but like every single cozy fantasy book reviews that I've looked at have that spectrum. Um, because cozy is something different to every single person,
Sure.
right? So, some people are looking for just a bit of fun, and some people really just want to play Animal Crossing and watch the villagers, bake and chat with each other, and they just want that slice of life because you can find cozy fantasy on that entire spectrum, right?
Hmm. Oh yes, and it's one of my other cozy author friends who's on here, Marshall J. Moore. He's doing
Oh,
cozy horror, which is again, it's people like, how can you put those two together? He's like, but wait, let me explain. And it's just again, it's fascinating what you can do with that filter, I should say, almost. Put it.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Marshall's great. Yeah, I've chatted with him. It's been a bit, but I loved Son of a Sailor. I don't know if his cozy horror is out yet, but I'm
Not
interested to
yet,
see
not
what.
yet.
Not yet. Okay, I'm interested to see what he does with that.
I think it launches. I'm trying to remember if it's September or October, but yeah, he's we're fortunate that we live near each other, so I've gotten to know him over the years. But for you, you start with the dystopian, and you've worked your way to cozy, and you're kind of now going a little back and forth with redoing your first initial series. What was it that made you, and I love this question, it's that basis 101 question, what made you decide to sit down and write a book? Because there's so many people with great ideas, but they never see it through. So what was
For sure.
that journey for you?
Yeah, I mean that's a fun story too. I mean so the I've always wanted to write a book since I was a kid. That's something that I've always wanted to do, right? But it wasn't until I was in my late 30s that I actually decided that it was something I was capable of doing.
Mhm.
It was just always something I'd written like short stories in high school and college, and then life took over, and I had my job and everything else. And at that time, I was banking. I wasn't doing web design, so I was like just exhausted all the time. Um, but then I was running my own business. I did end up switching to web design kind of in between. I was running my own business. I had some health issues. I had to kind of merge my business with the business I'm working for now, actually, but I wasn't running the business anymore. So I had all this free time, and so I decided to start running, which seems like it has nothing to do with writing, but I had some friends who were um, running marathons and half marathons and that, and they convinced me to train for a half marathon with them. I was like, you know what? Sure, I should probably get in shape. Let's do this. So just kind of on a whim, I started running. I basically went from couch to half marathon in 3 months. And I had never run like, and I never run before like this. Like I'd done some cycling, but I was never athletic. I was the kid that got picked last in gym. I was never like running was something that I would do if I was running from a bear. Like it was, it was like
Yeah, okay.
it was not something to do for fun. Um, but then but because my friends were doing it, I ended up doing it with them. I did the half marathon, and I had people coming up to me afterwards saying, "That's awesome, way to go, way to cross something off your bucket list." And I was like, "Well, thanks. It wasn't something on my bucket list. It was just kind of something I did."
Hmm.
Um, and that got me to thinking, well, maybe it's time to actually cross something off my bucket list. So I was like, maybe I should actually write that book. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so it took me about a year after that point before my first book to write that first book. But it was the same principle. It was like running was basically just kind of doing a bit every day, right? Just doing
Hmm.
and it's not always fun, but you're just kind of grinding towards this end goal of something bigger, right? You don't start out running a marathon on day one. You start, running maybe a kilometer or whatever. It's the same with writing a book. You don't start out writing a book. You start out writing a sentence or a paragraph, and that's kind of the approach I took. And that the mentality of running helped me to kind of get to that point. Okay, this is something I can do. If I can put my mind to running a half marathon and do it, I can put my mind to writing a book and doing it. Right. So that was kind of how it started. And my first book was basically kind of just the first idea I had at the time, and I knew nothing about market. I knew nothing really about genre.
Sounds
It
familiar.
was yeah. So that's it was basically. And again, I had been working for 10 years, pretty hard in between banking and my day because I was a manager when I was banking as well. And then I was running my business. So basically, like I was like 10 years behind. So I'm like, oh, dystopian is cool.
Hmm.
And it was like, because the last series I read was The Hunger Games. So that's, yeah,
Fair. Okay, it was
we'll
fresh,
just
fresh in
do
your mind.
so yeah, so it just kind of, and I mean that's always been a genre that I've enjoyed. Like even
Yeah.
from a teenager, I mean dating myself, but I used to watch a lot of the '90s dystopian movies like Demolition Man and
Hmm.
I'm gonna blank on if I'm gonna try to name them, but that genre of '90s dystopia. Um, so yeah, that's kind of just what I gravitated to. There's some magic in there because like there was no genre expectation when I was writing it, so
Yep.
it's just
You were having
it's a
fun.
fun. I was just having fun. Yeah, exactly. So I think the story is still good. I think it just needs a little bit of a tweaking to get it to a marketable. point, and that's really all it's going to be when I like rework it, and then finishing it because I never actually like I have 3 books in that series. Um, I was originally going to have 6. I probably will wrap it up with a fourth, and then just kind of rebrand it and yeah, bring it into my multiverse essentially. So
I mean, that's one of those things that there is some benefits of publishing indie because you have that capability that if you look at an earlier work, and here's the thing, the goal for all authors out here is to always improve. So at some point, you're always going to look back at your earlier work and be like, ooh, okay, yeah, it's not that it's bad, but it's not what level you are at the moment. And
100%.
there are definitely authors that will go back and do what you're doing right now and saying, hey, I see some things that I'm going to definitely want to tweak and everything in order to get it to the next level. And so kudos to you. And, that's great, especially if it allows you to be able to reach the readership that would appreciate it better.
Exactly, and I don't even think it's just indie authors. I think indie authors have an easier time with it. But I was just listening to the Rip War Saga, Magician's Apprentice by Raymond Weiss, and I was listening to it wasn't the acknowledgments, but it was the author's note at the end, and he rewrote it. He's like, I rewrote this as a 10-year anniversary edition, like basically it was like the author's like original cut kind of thing, because the publisher had made him cut so much out of it that he felt like it was still missing elements that he had wanted to include. And looking back 10 years later, he's like, and my writing has gotten better in that. So he made some adjustments as well, even as a traditionally published author. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That is, and that's the thing. I like the fact that publishing is always unexpected, no matter what kind. So that is kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But for you, with now you have again your 3 different kind of series that you have. Are you drawn particularly to any character or group of characters more so than any others? Because I mean, they're all personal to you in some way, but is there anyone that you're like, ooh, this one here?
Any specific character?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, characters are, yeah, like you said, there's definitely I definitely enjoy certain aspects of different characters. I don't know if I'd be able to pick a specific character and say this is my favorite or anything, but I always have fun with side characters. I think
Yeah.
that, like in this in Flower and Forge, there's a couple side characters that I really enjoyed. Um, there's a dwarf who is unable to grow a beard, and so he's kind of an outcast because of this. And but he's just kind of this snarky. He is like such a good-hearted person, but he's just kind of this like snarky dude with with a bit of attitude, and he's really sarcastic. And I always have fun with the sarcastic characters, and I think that's probably because like that's where I get to like unleash my sarcastic side through these characters, right? Um,
I love it.
and I because I have probably a sarcastic character like that in every in every series, to be honest. Not the exact same person, obviously,
Mhm.
but I have a space pirate in my Fractured Orbit series, which is my sci-fi series, and she's sarcastic and just um, so much fun. So yeah, like I kind of been drawn to those characters while I write them because they're just fun to write, and I have a great time with them.
Yeah, and like for you with your because Flower and Forge, that one's officially released,
It is.
or was that okay? Yes, okay.
So because we moved, I kind of had to do a staggered release because
Mhm.
of Amazon's restrictions when I put up a pre-order. So the ebook is out, the audiobook and the print versions will be out in June. So it is a bit of a staggered release. And my Kickstarter for that special edition is running net right now, actually.
Okay, because that's why I wasn't sure that if I couldn't remember if your campaign was for special edition or just to launch the book or some combination of them. So
Yeah,
yes, make sure you
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
that one. So what outside of the book? I actually paperback. Do you offer ebook? Like what are some of the perks for people to check out your campaign?
The Kickstarter, yeah. So every tier of my Kickstarter, regardless of which level you back, gets an ebook and an audiobook. The ebook edition, because so normally I will run the Kickstarter before the book is released, but this time around I just didn't have the time to put together a campaign before I had to release the
Mhm.
ebook. So for this campaign in particular, the ebook versions are a deluxe version, so they include artwork that isn't in the market release. They're all going to be individually signed and personalized, and have the bonuses that the special edition has, like some extra recipes and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make it a little special because it is a Kickstarter. I wanted to thank backers in some way. So Book Funnel now allows you um, to do signed pages into the ebook. We'll see how that goes. I haven't done that
Hmm.
yet.
I haven't actually checked
So
that out. Thank you for noting. I'm gonna make a note of that. I'm trying to figure out like how I feel about that. That's interesting.
yeah, and I mean, it is still like they're getting a digital signature, but it is going to
Mhm.
be like a scanned, I'm assuming, scanned version of my signature. And that's why I said I'll also personalize it. So each person's kind of getting their own signed page, right? So we'll see what I got myself into in doing that when I'm signing
Woo!
400 copies
I
of,
That was
of
one
it.
thing that
But
was like before, right before I hopped on. I've been working on trying to prep fulfillment for the campaign that I ran toward the end of last year,
mhm.
and I had enough people back it, which is lovely. But I came up with a problem where up until now I've done handwritten notes to everybody, but now there were
Right.
so many people. I was just like, okay, maybe I can't do that anymore. So I did like typed note, but I'm still hand signing and writing their names and my name. But like going through, I'm like, okay, what have I got myself into? Like,
100%. And each, campaign builds on the last one too, right? So I mean, so now I've got three books to sign in rather than just the
mhm.
one. I'm just doing the ebook signatures for the one book, um, so this time around I'm doing tip-in sheets instead of getting the book shipped to me, because my last campaign was I'm like I can't add a third book into this. It was to my breaking point. It was like 2 full weeks of doing nothing but signing and fulfilling in addition to my full-time job. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna source this out next time.
So who do you? I'm just curious now. Who are you using as
Yeah,
a printer for your special editions? Because there are several companies now that are reputable and people use. I'm always curious to say who's
yeah,
using them.
yeah. I'm using for this route. I'm using a printer called CC out of China.
Ah,
So they're doing they allow you to do a minimum print run of 300, where other places I think make you do 500 usually, unless you're doing something like Book Vault.
yeah.
For my first two campaigns, I used Book Vault. This one I'm doing sprayed edges, and book the Book Vault price just skyrocketed with the sprayed
Mhm.
edges, plus the additional increase of printing costs over the last year.
Mhm.
It was wild to me the price that I got from Book Vault trying to get it printed through them. So I just could not make it feasible for me to do it through them this time.
Hey, well, that's why I also want to check out because I mean, I love the quality Book Vault has for their books, but and this was my first special edition was the one I've run, so I'm working with them for that one. But going forward, I also want to be aware of other options too, because yes, in the future when hopefully prices kind of go down a little bit for some things, I do again love to support people who, do quality work and everything, but sometimes price does also affect it too. So.
No, 100%. It was basically after about 50 copies, it made no sense for me to go through them anymore. So I, yeah, I would have done myself a favor if I had done a print run for the last campaign, because then I would have extra books that I wouldn't have to get
Mhm.
printed this time. So I'm printing 300 copies of each book, assuming that I only have 300 or less than 300 to fulfill. I probably will. Um, so I'm getting 900 books printed
Mhm.
in one shot. So I mean, it's a big upfront cost,
Yes.
but I'll have I'll have extra books for the next campaign as well. So I'm thinking of it as an investment for the future.
Yeah, and like depending on, I don't know if you ever sell direct or anything. but having those kind of author copies in hand, if you ever do live events, those are always nice.
Mm.
And I know, again, having the first time, even just my mock-ups for my special editions available to some of the events, and I was taking pre-orders knowing that I was ordering extra to have on stock through my own shop. It was just kind of interesting. So it was just like, that's, how many people that were willing to be like, yeah, I'll pre-order it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the first two special editions, I said that they were Kickstarter exclusive. So I
Mhm.
kind of have to hold those back for future,
That's fair.
Kickstarters. I'll probably keep a late pledge store open on Kickstarter for longer this round, just to try to, move some of them a bit. For this one, I said it's exclusive to me. So I mean, I do plan on selling them probably more in person events than on my
Yes.
website.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how long does your campaign run this time?
Well, it runs for another week until next week Tuesday. Tuesday morning it'll end. It was 21 days total.
Ah, okay. I was gonna say I was always curious like how long people run their campaigns. I've done like
Mm.
just shy of 30 days because I know there's that lull in between. So some people do better with shorter campaigns, but I'm not confident yet with a short turnaround.
Yeah, my first campaign I did 30 days. And I just found that it was too difficult for me to keep up the enthusiasm for that
Fair.
long because it is a lot of constant posting and
Mhm.
engaging, and it was just a what's the word I'm looking for? A long time, extended
Yes.
period of time
Yep.
where I was focusing on the Kickstarter instead of things like writing and
It's hard to balance.
other things I was working on. So I didn't want to go shorter than 3 weeks because, to your point, I just worry that people don't. It's not enough time for people to hear about it
Mhm.
necessarily. Um, because I always get people after the campaign ends that are commenting on my post saying, "When is this? Where can I get
Yep.
it?" And I'm
That's
like,
always something. Yep.
"It's over. Sorry." So
Yeah. Yeah.
even today, I had someone post on a Facebook comment who had backed my first campaign, saying that, oh, I didn't know there are two more books. I had no idea. I loved the first one. And I was like, so it's so hard to reach people, even if they are interested, and have seen me before. It's, I feel like less than 3 weeks, I would definitely miss a wider swath of people.
I've seen more and more people who win because I try to also when I have funds to spend, I will try my best to back other people's campaigns as well. Plus pretty books, but like I always do my best. But I've seen more and more people who, when they're about to launch another book in their series or not, they will go back to the updates from prior campaigns and send a new thing saying, "Hey, just in case you're interested." And you can go and here's the link. And again, we're all trying to figure out how to one reach all the readers who would be interested in our stuff in the best way possible. So
Yes.
you mentioned, and I'm pretty sure I know this answer based on what you said a little earlier, but first two of this kind of more or less series have like this bar vibe, and then this
Mhm.
third one you said has some more of a bakery vibe. I'm pretty sure you mentioned earlier about for the special editions you're inserting recipes. Is that the case for all of them, like cocktail recipes and
Yeah. Yeah.
what?
So the first two books have drink recipes in them. The Yeah, and I had so many people say that they wish there was more drink recipes for the first one that I like tripled the amount in the in the second one. So they're chock full of drink recipes. And there's even a drink recipe book as well that people can
Ooh,
add in as an add-on that I took the ones from the book and I added, a bunch more. Um, got some photos and designed it, and that one you can get on my website as well. But it's an add-on on the campaign. And then for this one, there are drink recipes or baking recipes as well in Flour and Forge. So not a lot. It's not set in a bakery,
yeah,
but there is baking involved. So I didn't want to chock it full of baking recipes just because.
yeah,
But there is a main um, pastry that he makes that there is a recipe for at the back. And
yum.
then I just unlocked a stretch goal for additional um, recipes as well. So they mentioned some other pastries and that, so there are going to be those recipes in the book as well.
Fun. Oh, wait, okay. So are you the one who's then coming up with the recipes, or do you have a friend who's, who's a baker, or the friend who's a mixologist? Like, where do you come up with these recipes for your world?
That is a great question. the the drink recipes, a lot of them were my own creator or
Fun.
creations. They're realistically they're just deviations of popular and classic drinks,
Yeah.
right? So I tried to find with the greatest pub in the multiverse, I had kind of groups of side characters kind of come in and we chat with them and get to know them. And I had the main character kind of make drinks tailored to them. And so what I really tried to find was a drink that made sense for this type of people. So one group is our dragon riders.
Mhm.
So I came up with I found a drink that I found a drink. There's a drink called the Aviator, which is a very
Yes.
classic drink,
Yes.
and I kind of renamed it, put a bit of a twist on it to kind of make it you
Hmm.
know unique, and then that was kind of the drink recipe that she made for them. So it was a lot of internet searching
Yeah.
and trying to because I'm not a mixologist, so I learned a lot in creating that book. Um,
I feel
with
like this is
the
like the fun side of research is, oh, this sounds cool. Now I have to like taste test it.
right, yeah, yeah. Well, I have to make these drinks for my drink recipe book, right? So I definitely had tons of fun with that one. Um, I bought a big part of my budget for that campaign went to buying the ingredients to test out these
It's so
recipes because it wasn't cheap, but it was fun. So, with the baking one, I've got one main recipe and it's really just a traditional,
Mhm.
it's a strudel recipe that's in there. So that one, the baker is German. I wanted a, traditional um, German style recipe, so that I went with that one. The other ones were more based on pastries I'd seen in bakeries of German bakeries and that sort of thing. So it wasn't. I'm not a baker either. My grandfather was a baker, and that's kind of where the idea for a baker came from. But he is not around to tap for recipes any longer. So I had to again just okay, what are some German pastries, and I have them named, and we'll get some recipes for them in the special edition.
That's great. I was gonna say, if you ever need help with like taste testing, I'm here for that.
Yeah, yeah, fair, fair. Well, you have to come up to Canada and give, and we'll have them.
That would be a fun trip. That would.
Yeah.
So, oh, that would actually really be fun. I'm trying to think. Like, I have a few recipes that I did for a campaign, pulling from my YA multiverse series, and each different recipe I was trying to vibe with that world. And in my magic multiverse, lots of different worlds are inspired by different kind of mythos. So there's one that's a little more on the kind of mythic China style, and one's a little bit more Nordic, and so trying to pull different kind of recipes and flavors of these kind of fictional realities, but sharing what would make sense in those worlds. It was kind of fun trying to come up with them. Thankfully my husband is a really good cook, and so I was like, okay, does this make sense?
Does this work?
Does
Yeah,
this
that's
work, or is
awesome.
this going to be terrible? How is this going to happen? So I do,
Yeah,
I appreciate people who do that, because again, you're just allowing your readership and your fan base to immerse themselves in a totally different way in your world. So that is kind of fun.
exactly. Yeah, and it's just fun, right? Yeah, I've had my eye on your multiverse series for a while because obviously, the multiverse concept has always intrigued me as a trope in
Mhm.
fantasy and sci-fi, right? So I'm excited. I haven't got to your series yet, but I am excited to.
No, no worries. I understand. I definitely understand about that whole TBR thing, and my sad TBR is like the physical one alone is like starting to like just take over like wings of the house, because at some point I would love to have floor to ceiling bookshelves. I do not have them yet, so I am out of shelf room, so I have my mounds, my bookish mounds that are spreading.
I know. Yeah, I hear you. We, like I mentioned before, we just moved, and a couple of our bookshelves didn't make didn't make the
Oh
move.
no.
So I've got boxes and boxes, and I was like, oh, I'm not allowed to buy any more books until we're permanently somewhere because I'm not doing that again. It's like a third of our move was books.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And they're not they're pretty. Let me word it this way. They can be pretty weighty.
Yeah, they can be.
Been some.
It's amazing how many books fit on a one bookshelf. You don't realize how many boxes of books one bookshelf actually is until you pack them up, and then you're like, I had no idea this.
Where did you all come from? How did this happen? Are you multiplying? I mean, that wouldn't be the worst thing, having a magical bookshelf that just constantly, you pull a book off the shelf and it fills with a
And
new
a new
book.
one, right?
I like this. Ooh, fascinating. Anyhow, the hour is going to start picking up. See, at this moment. So before I get to some of my standard questions, I'm just curious. Like, what is your favorite way to try, at the very least, to reach readers? Because I'll say try. It can be very hard sometimes.
It is very hard. My favorite way is for readers just to find me on Amazon by Magic.
Magic.
Right. Um, yeah, that is a tough one. So I'll say that the most effective way thus far has been TikTok overall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wouldn't say that is my favorite way. I resisted getting on TikTok for a long time. Um, because I am an elder millennial and it is intimidating. Even still, I've been doing it for 4 years probably now.
Yeah, I've been
Um,
watching you for a while.
yeah, it's been a while. I mean, my content's fairly low effort, and I fully admit that, but it still sells books. So I would say, I mean, that in and of itself is, I mean, my favorite because it is effective.
Yeah.
Um, some other social media has had varying degrees of success.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have had no luck with ads and minimal luck with actually, you know what my favorite way, if I was going to pick a favorite way, is actually Kickstarter. I have tons of fun with Kickstarter. Um, Kickstarter has its own, and I know I can't say that word too often, so I'll try not to anymore, but it has its own infrastructure that connects with readers and an audience that other platforms don't have organically, or at least is more difficult to reach without paying to get them. But I have so much fun with the campaigns, and I'm actually a bit disappointed that I'm not fulfilling this Kickstarter because I'm not going to have piles and stacks of books in my living room this time to to ship and hold and pack and that. Um, but because I did enjoy it, even though it did take up so much time. But there's a point where I just can't do that anymore.
Everybody has to figure out what makes sense. And if you are so fortunate as it sounds like you are, where you're building and building and growing on that particular platform, yeah, it gets to the point where it is pretty overwhelming for authors unless they have like a whole bunch of people they can tap in to help do the fulfillment part. It can be tough, and I'm kind of like getting closer to that threshold where so far it's manageable because it was spread out a lot, and so I kind of have everything in stages, and I'm not like bunching it up for just when these books arrive. But if it got too much bigger, then I would have to definitely come up with a different stratagem of like, how am I going to do this without it taking up all my other time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I say it also depends on how much you enjoy wrapping presents too, because
That's
it's
true.
really what you're doing, right? The signing part is fun. The wrapping, I'm not a good wrapper of presents. I had my wife helping me out, but even then, like it just adds so much time. And then with all the tariff debacle of this last year, um,
Yeah.
even like the shipment part of it was extra time consuming because I had pins and stickers and bookmarks, and each
Woo.
one of those things need a tariff code and they need to be listed and you need to submit it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just ship the books to the US and they're gonna be fulfilled from within the US this time so that I don't have to deal with that at all.
Hmm. Yeah, it gets tricky, and we just want to write books that people want to read, and we just want to have
Yeah.
fun selling the books that we love and all that kind of stuff. I get it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. Obviously, your campaign you said is running into Tuesday, and then you may have late backing available for a little while for people who want to join in the fun. So definitely keep your ear up for that. And this was for your 3 books of your cozy kind of universe. But for anybody else, and since what I try to do is, if this platform's nice, I'll try to repurpose this video on my YouTube channel and put all your contact information down below for people to find and follow you going forward. Outside of Book Talk, where else are you found? Do you have a website? Do you have a newsletter? That kind of thing that people can
Yeah,
nicely.
the best place to find me, I mean, if you go to my website, hermansteuernagel.com, which I know is impossible to spell. So I just say, go, obviously if you're sharing this, you will find, my link connected to this. But for the repurpose, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as Herman Steuernagel. Obviously, my name will be in the description below, because I know it is a bit of a spelling challenge.
It's okay.
But you can also the easiest way, if you're just going to type something into Google or wherever, pintandportal.com it's actually the name of my podcast, but it also links to my author website from there. And again, you can find my podcast there or on YouTube, by searching Pint and Portal.
So why don't you tell a little bit about your podcast? Because you mentioned it a little bit. Like, is this a weekly, a monthly thing? And what's your kind of your main focus for Pint and Portal?
Yeah, yeah. So it's quasi weekly, I like to say, because I've gone in. So I had another iteration of the podcast where I was just speaking with authors about their books, and it was a lot of, let's say, debut authors or experienced authors, but I was chatting just about primarily about their books, and it was a way for them to kind of get their book out there. I had another name for that podcast. I've shifted in this year to the Pint and Portal, which is the name of the pub in the greatest pub in the multiverse. So it's, bringing in people from different fantasy or not necessarily even fantasy, different multiverses to kind of chat with me more than, about their, not so much about their book, but about their writing journey. It was my way of justifying carrying on with my podcast. So I'm talking now to authors who have found success in their writing, either they are writing full time or the equivalent, about how they got there, how they found success. And it's really targeted more towards authors who want to build a successful author career. And yeah, so that's the show. I've had, yeah, I've been running it this for all of 2025, I think since February, under this name. Um, and with this iteration has really given me an excuse to do two things. One is to carry on talking to other authors, because I did take a year break from my podcast because it was a lot.
Yeah.
But I miss chatting with other authors, and I missed the connection, and I made so many friends just chatting with them about their books. So I wanted to get back to doing that. But I also wanted to grow my own author business. So selfishly, I decided it was going to be the conversations I wanted to have with authors who were writing full time in, kind of like, how did you do this? Because I would like to do it too. That's kind of the vein of the conversations. And, what if after an author conference, you got to chat with a successful author and, over a pint in the bar for an hour? And what questions would you ask them? That's kind of the premise of the show. Um, so yeah, it's on YouTube. It's on any podcast app that you happen to listen to. Um, yeah, and why I say quasi weekly is because it is a weekly podcast, but I give myself a lot of grace because it is a side hustle, and it does take a lot of work. And I said, you know what, I can't let it take from my writing, and so I can't let the schedule consume me. I have to be okay with like missing a week, if things get busy, and so I've kind of, all the advice is to stay consistent with your podcast, but I was like, you know what? I'm doing this for me in a lot of ways, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make it another stressor on my schedule. So
Oh, I get that.
I've more, yeah, so it's mostly weekly. Occasionally it's, I'll miss a week, and so far the algorithm doesn't seem to mind. So,
See, I mean, I feel I feel like authors and writers, I mean, other people as well, because this can pertain to other things too, but like you go through different stages. I know earlier on when I started doing this kind of weekly live chat with people, I felt like I had to do it every week because it just had to do it. And then got to the point where, what if, I was trying to take a trip, or what if, and you got so stressed about it. And so, yeah, I definitely gotten to the point where, yes, I try my best to assign, weekly things. If things don't happen, it's okay. There will be another day. People are, if I really wanted to get on and do a solo dolo, I could, but like, it's okay. They'll be here next
exactly.
time.
It's so funny the pressures we put on ourselves as
Mhm.
writers, and it's like I'm only beholden to myself in this. So I don't know why I'm stressing myself out, because it's an artificial deadline that I created. So
Mhm. Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's very true. But like, there's some also benefits you get out of doing stuff like this. As you said, you did it specifically to try to start learning on how to get to where you want to go. And for me, it's kind of a similar way for this. Maybe a little less structured though. It's just every time I talk to other authors, I learn something. And if there's someone that's doing better, maybe this little niche or pocket, I just be like, oh wait, I have a question. Again, going back to like how you did fulfillment, I was just like, let me learn more. I'm taking my notes as I always do.
100%. Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I don't know about, and some of the topics are like, okay, I know a little bit more about this, but you're always going to learn something
Mhm.
new, right? So whatever format or whatever that is, be it Kickstarter or be it ads or TikTok or whatever, it's every author that I've talked to so far has had a different path. Even if they're using the same platforms, they're doing something different with it. So you're
Mhm.
always learning something.
Absolutely. Let me also ask one of my go-to questions for people is where can people get your books? Obviously, you're a campaign right now, but beyond that, Zon, Direct, Wide, and in what formats can people find them?
Yeah, so you can get all my books are wide, so you can find them pretty much anywhere you get your books. I don't have a TikTok shop because I'm in Canada and they don't let us do that here, but otherwise you can find my books pretty much anywhere. Um, I have I have pretty much all formats, ebooks, paperbacks. I only have audiobooks for my cozy fantasies. The Kickstarters have been huge in allowing me to get the audiobooks produced. So it's only been those books for audio. So if you're an audiobook listener, you can check those out. Again, those are wide as well, so you can find them anywhere you get your audiobooks.
That's lovely. Yeah, no, I say it many times. Audiobooks are some of those hardest things to achieve, especially if you start on the indie side of things, because for the most part, there are other things that you can do to make them more affordable. Everything has their pros and cons, but in general, they are expensive to produce. Especially if you want a good narrator and you're not narrating yourself. I will not narrate them myself because this is what you would get.
No, me
Nobody
either.
wants that.
Yeah, I mean, after editing podcast episodes, I can't imagine the process of editing an audiobook. I would be doing nothing else, and I'd probably never write another book again because I would just be.
No.
So I'm not going down that road. But yeah, it's the audiobook for me has been just about the most expensive. Like it's more expensive to do the audiobook than the actual book. So I haven't done it for all of mine yet, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen.
Sometimes it takes a while, and that's okay. Like I'm playing the catch up game with all my books in my various series just because it took me forever to try to get the nerve to figure out that process, and then figure out which part of that process I like the best, etc., so on. But like, yeah, it's gonna still take me a little while to catch up. But and again, don't feel pressured. It's nice to have, and there's a lot of benefits. I could talk about that, but don't feel pressured for anybody to jump on all formats right off the bat. There are ways around it.
Yeah, 100%.
So let me ask you, since is there any particular topic that you wanted to cover that we haven't had a chance to cover? Any questions that you wanted to ask that we haven't had a chance to ask yet? Because this is that wonderful time for you to make sure we cover everything you want to cover.
Yeah, I have we covered a lot of ground, so I'm not sure if there's anything else that I think we need to cover. I will, for those who are watching, I do have a free copy
Yes,
of the
please show
shiny
your
cover.
cover.
Yeah, so this is the gold foil special edition with the sprayed
Ooh.
edges. I've got some cool artwork in here. If I can, I should have had it bookmarked, but yeah, there's color artwork, color end papers. Um,
Love it.
for my Kickstarter, which again is running right now. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much for asking me to chat with you. This has been great, and yeah, we'll need to chat more so I can learn more about your journey and process as well because I'd love to hear more about it.
Well, my final question then, before we totally wrap up, is there outside of, again, your current campaign, any other things of note this year that you would love people to know? Like, is there like a upcoming release that you're trying to aim for by the end of the year? Are you doing any live events, etc.? Like, what should people make sure they note down to remember?
Yeah, for sure. So this year after Flower and Forge was a kind of a rush again because of our move, I kind of made a commitment to not put up a pre-order for a new book until it was finished. Um, so I have announced there's kind of a teaser at the end of Flower and Forge for the next book, and it says coming soon. Um, so the next book in the this series kind of it it actually is the two main characters, and you do get to see them in the bakery. It's less of an epic, and it's more of a cozy. It like kind of brings them into their a bit of a slice of life right after the campaign that they go on in this book. So that's something to look forward to if people are interested in that. I've got a novella that I'm just about done that will be coming out soon that's related to this multiverse. Again, it'll be a standalone. And actually, if you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, you're going to get it for free. So
Ooh.
that's something to look forward to. I had hoped to have that done already, but it was going to be a short story and it turned into a novella. I have a problem with overwriting, as you might have gathered from my books always end up my stories always end up way longer than I ever anticipate. I was gonna do a reader magnet short story, and I was like, yeah, I'll just quickly do a 5,000 word short
Yeah,
story
about
over the
that.
weekend. Yeah, it's 25,000 words now, and now that I'm like, okay, well, this is clearly a novella. I'm
Yes.
not pulling back anymore. I'm just gonna go for it. So it's gonna be a full novella. Um, and yeah, other than that, like I said, again, I'm reworking my Lives of the Guardian series. I have no timeline for that, so but in the future, it'll be coming up. That's what I've got going on. If people happen to be in Victoria, Canada, I'll be at Island FanCon there the first weekend of June,
Ooh.
and that's my only event this year that I'm going to be selling at. So.
Hey, that's exciting. And then are you gonna sell a little bit of all your series there, or are you focusing on one particular kind?
I will probably have mostly my cozies there. I'll probably bring my sci-fi series, but the cozy fantasy are the big sellers, and it is a bit of a travel for me to get there. So I don't want to load up my car with too many books. So
Fair.
yeah, the spread tends to also like for authors who do live events, because I've kind of been genre explorative and I have multiple genres all spread out, it confuses readers when they come to my table. Because whatever first book they see, that's the genre that they have in their mind, so nothing else kind of matters. Um,
Interesting.
so I've tried to, especially since I'm like reworking my first series, I've kind of like pulled that out of my marketing altogether. You can still get it, but I haven't been promoting it because I know that it's gonna change. So I won't be bringing that series. It'll just be my recent books are the focus.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know cozy again is one of those genres that's hyper popular in all its forms. But yeah, I guess I have to think about that. Any next time I go to a live event and see how people associate me based on which series they pick up. Because even though they're all at this moment in time high fantasy, I have adult, new adult, YA, and
Mm,
all these subgenres with the exception of cozy at the moment, a lot of these subgenres under that kind of high fantasy are, represented, but that is a wide range in many regards. Maybe not as wide range in some sense as what you're doing, truly genre jumping, but it is interesting. It's a harder challenge for us to spread, our interest that way. On the other hand, I like to read a whole variety of things, so I don't want to niche
I
down.
do. I know. Apparently, that's something that's an author thing, though. Like from
Yep.
what I gather, like I mean, readers are not like that. They like their thing and they stick
Yeah.
to it. I've been, people ask me if my backlist has picked up since my cozy fantasy has started selling, and not really. So it's, um, yeah, it's interesting that as authors, most authors I talk to are like that. I'm like that. I'll read whatever. But yeah,
Yep.
readers they find what they like and they stick with it, which is good. I mean, that's great too. So
There's a book for everybody. They just have to find the book. And us writers, our challenge is to find the right people for our own book. So I definitely, it's the eternal challenge for us,
it is.
the perpetual one. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we got to connect. And again, once more, sorry about the whole having the memo just not sent. That
No
was
worries, no worries. I had in my head that we were doing it was on my calendar. I was no doubt that it was happening, and I was like, oh, should I confirm because I haven't heard anything? But that was this morning, so I'm glad you reached out at the same time. So it's all good.
Aha, great minds think alike. So it's been a lot of fun talking with you. And again, I've been following you for a while, and I don't know if it's been the full 4-ish years that you've been on here, but it's been a while, and I've been like eyeing your books for a long time, and they've all sound very fascinating. I know you've been kind of focusing right now on your cozy side of things, but it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think I feel like we've probably been on TikTok a similar amount of time because I've been
I
following
feel
you forever
something
as
like
well.
that, yeah.
And I mean, I know we met in Vegas
Hmm.
a couple of years ago as well, and so like it's been great to kind of see you as well in your journey, and yeah, we'll have to chat more about that.
Absolutely. But I will let you go since we are hitting the 8 o'clock hour. And if you've listened to any of these, that's usually when my dogs are like circling upstairs, being like, we need to go out.
Yeah.
Dog mom.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cool. Well, thank you again. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, and happy reading for everybody. And again, I will let you know if and when I'm able to share this going forward. But happy reading, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.
Bye now.